Hello, everybody. Welcome to 3 Point Perspective, the podcast about illustration, how to do it, how to make a living at it, and how to make an impact in the world with your art. I'm Jake Parker. Now, this is a special episode. It's a best of 3 Point Perspective episode. The reason we're doing that now is because it's the summer months. People are busy. People are off on vacation and taking a little bit of time off. And we thought let's give some of the team a break and do a compilation episode. And I will just do a little intro here and get us going on this episode. Now, what this one is all about is like we found the best clips having to do with, are you ready to go pro? Are you ready to take your illustration career to the next level? And if you're like most artists, you have big dreams for your career, and perhaps you want to launch a personal project, or you want to table an event, or you even want to like quit your day job and start illustrating full time. Now, these goals, they're within your reach, but how do you know if you're ready to make the jump? So that's what we're going to talk about today. And I just want to dig into that a little bit before we get into the clips. First things first, you want to look for neutral indicators of success. And just because your mom loves your art doesn't mean that it's going to sell enough to pay the bills. So before you cut out other sources of income, prove that your art has an audience willing to buy it. Prove that you can get the clients that you need. Prove that you've really got the moxie to make it out there by already landing several children's books with a publisher, or a couple children's books with a publisher, or you've got an agent who's very interested in you, or you've fully funded a couple Kickstarters. But you need to have some metric that shows people are willing to pay for your work repeatedly. Now, if you can't seem to find an invested audience, what you got to do is evaluate the quality of your work. Are your technical skills up to snuff? Are you telling like compelling visual stories, or are you just creating pretty pictures? Like look at your marketing strategy. How is that? Is that an effective, like, are you effectively using marketing? And lastly, if you don't have a defined style or brand, you're going to want to solidify that first. So an example would be like if your children's book portfolio doesn't land any jobs, you might need to revamp it for YA or for middle grades and see if that improves your results. But whatever your goals are, and wherever you are in your journey, you can bring this professional energy to your work. A professional really isn't defined by the amount of money they make or the size of their fan base, but really it's by the consistency and the quality with which they work. They show up even when they don't feel like it. And that really is, like, I think, the essence of professionalism. So with that, let's jump into this episode and enjoy this best of episode of 3 Point Perspective. This is Jonathan stuck at a fork in the road. He says, I have a bachelor's in fine arts and animation. After graduating in 2012, I could not afford to take an entry-level position at a studio due to the student loans and having a kid on the way. So I took an office job in logistics and have been working there ever since, but never stopped making art. I'm in a comfortable position at my day job, but my wife also works. She has a better job with insurance. So I've been questioning how much to dive back into art. I work and have 2 kids, and it's a juggling act. I feel like I have made some big progress in my skills as an illustrator lately. And I have more of an urge to just up and quit the day job, but figure I should stick to a more nuanced approach. What range of options should I focus on? I am currently working on small 10-page comics, trying to market them on social media. All right. What would you guys do? What should Jonathan do in this position?
I think he's doing it, right?
I would say this. You need a neutral indicator of success, right? And a neutral indicator is something that is going to tell you that you're good, regardless of who's saying it, right? Like, you might think you're good enough to quit and to go do this full time. You know, your wife might think you are, but you're not going to know it until you actually take that step, right? The neutral indicator of success typically is, will people pay you money for it? Because that's where talk turns into action. Okay. And so typically what I think anybody who really wants to do this, like the more nuanced, the right way of doing this, the more safest route, I think, is they're going to make their comic or make their project or whatever, put it out there, see if they can get even a little bit of a promising lead on sales on it, and continue to do that until those sales get to a point where it's matching, or it's at a point where if you were to go full time, you could match your day job's income, right? You don't want to just up and quit based on, I got 10,000 likes on this one piece. You want to up and quit because you're like, oh wow, I've been selling comics online for the last year, and I made the same amount of money I did in the last 2 years at my job or something like that. That's a really good indicator that you should quit your job and go do this. That's if you need your job, if you need that income to support yourself. So that's really what I would lean into, figuring out. Looking at his art, he's got a cool style. I'm seeing his sketches on his Instagram account. I'm not seeing much finished stuff, but he's got a cool style. I want to see it really dialed in as a story, as a cool comic. Try kickstarting that thing. See if you can get a good return on that Kickstarter. Go out there and sell these at cons. See if that does anything, and if you are getting people like trading money for the stuff that you're doing, then maybe lean into it even harder.
I think he's 3 years out from making money. That's just my hunch based on the work. He's got a strong foundation. The work looks good. I mean, the ink work looks okay. There's nothing, I guess, there's nothing wrong with the characters, but there's nothing particularly engaging about what I'm seeing on the Instagram to make me think that, oh yeah, he's going to pull a bunch of people in and buy a story yet. I'm just not seeing that. Do you guys agree with that or disagree with that? I mean, it's not, like I said, it's there's nothing wrong with it, but there's also not a flair there. It feels like he's right at the base to say, okay, what do I want to add my own stamp on and bring up to the level of a personal project that is different from the other stuff that I've seen.
Well, let's see here. Looking at, there's two things. There's the art and then there's the marketing, right? And his Instagram page, I'm just going to go to YouTube as well, see what he's got going on there. So he's just drawing sketches on YouTube and he's sharing sketches on Instagram. None of this is optimized to get people really interested in what he's doing.
Do you want to share the art, Jake, real quick? Can we?
Yeah.
Because
Let me share that screen.
And it's good. I think he's got a good foundation. I don't want to sound harsh. I just don't think he's identified his voice yet, and that's a big deal.
Okay, so here's his Instagram page, and what he's got on here is a ton of sketches, black and white line art, really loose stuff, and maybe every 20th post he's got something full color. And so you look at this and you're like, this is the kind of Instagram account I want to see for like Mike Mignola. Mike Mignola has 2,000 pages of comics under his belt that are published, and I've like just drenched myself in his finished artwork, that when I see some of his early sketches or loose sketches, I'm like, oh, that's how he does it. Oh, that's really cool. That's a cool idea. That's the account I wish he had. This is not the account that is going to get someone to be like super excited to follow your work. The account that you're going to need to do is something like Jake Morrison. Jake Morrison art. So I'm going to pull him up here. This account is primed and ready to go to
to get me like interested in backing one of his Kickstarters. You know what I'm saying? Like he on here has finished art. He's got character designs. He's got environment designs. It all is like really dialed in as like, something almost that looks like it's like pulled from a finished comic. I look at this, I'm like, oh, what is mimesis? This looks like a book cover to something. I'm really curious about what this is. And I go to your page and I'm just seeing sketches. I'm like, oh, that's cool character design. None of it is finished and none of it looks like, something super polished, except for we get down here, we got Shadows of Deceit, which is like a cool little comic. But again, I'm not sure I know exactly, is it a comic I'm just reading on Instagram, or is it a comic I'm going to be able to, purchase, download a copy of, or purchase a hard copy of? So that's one main thing I would fix there is dial in your Instagram account. So like the first 12 or 24 pieces that I see are going to be finished, polished work that all point towards a book project.
What do they call that, Jake? It's like a keyframe or a cell image.
Yeah. It's like I call it keyframe art. Keyframe art is what it is, or it's like a visual development art where it's like more polished and
I even do that for children's books now. Instead of starting with a sketch that might be in the book, I just make an image that I think, here's the image that I want to paint out of this story. Now, maybe it doesn't end up in the story, but it's the image that is going to drive me through the rest of making the book. So it could be considered that. And that's sort of what I want to see here is like, show me something, show me the pinnacle of the story with the characters fully engaged with what the story is and the lighting and the color, and then make me interested in the story. And then I'll want to see the development behind it. I think the characters need to be pushed a little bit too, in terms of being an individual character versus being something that we're sort of familiar with seeing.
Right. So what I would do, going back to this, Jonathan's, you've got a really cool thing here with Mecha Star, this robot thing that you're doing. This looks kind of unique and interesting. It's a cool little world that you're building. I could see it's like a maybe sci-fi fantasy comic. This is really cool. You're onto something here, but quit, for every finished, or for every like sketch that you're doing, you need to be posting like 5 images of something more polished and finished. And so, we talk about documenting your process. I would save like sketches and stuff for your Instagram stories, and then have your reels and your feed be, your post feed be more polished, finished stuff.
Because it's almost like a portfolio, really, right? I mean,
Right.
That's really what the Instagram page is. And now it's not. It's just development.
Yeah. And then if you want to turn this into more of a business, you want to be able to make a sale of this. And this is what our whole 9-week Self-Publishing Pro course is all about. Like we're giving you Self-Publishing Pro in 5 minutes here, but essentially make a 5-page PDF download short story of Mech Star. And it's about a mech. This is what I would love to see. It's about a mech that has crashed, and the pilot realizes he's out of fuel or something, and the fuel is 20 miles away, and so he's hiking through to get the fuel, and he faces maybe it's like he helps somebody along the way, even though it's going to put another day on his journey, but it turns out that person he helped has access to fuel and ends up helping him instead, right? You got a nice tight little 5-page or 10-page story right there in this world, self-contained. And you're going to post that online and get people interested. You're going to post it a page at a time, right? But then you're going to have a PDF download of that story, polished, finished, and you're going to say, this is a free PDF to, just email me here and you'll get it. And you're going to build an email list of everybody who wants that PDF. Okay. Now you've got a 100-person email list of people who are specifically dialed in and interested in what you are making and what you are going to make, so that when you email them one day and say, all right, you love MechStar, here is the finished graphic novel and it's kickstarting in a month. They're going to go to that Kickstarter pre-launch page and click remind me when this launches, and they're going to be the first person to back you on that day. You're going to fund, you're going to make that book, it's going to be a success. You're going to be like, holy cow, I just made $30,000 on this little comic that I did. Let's do this again. Oh man, I did it again. Let's do it a third time. Wow, this is really working. Okay, now it's time to quit the job and let's do this full time.
Love it.
That's what you do.
That's the ingredients.
We have a treat for you today, Anthony Wheeler. There's this scene in the movie Avatar by James Cameron, and there's this old like gnarly Marine, and he gets super excited when he finds out that they have an avatar body that's connected to Jake Sully, who's a Marine, and he goes, a Marine in an avatar body, that is a potent mix. And I think what we have here with Anthony is we have this potent mix of an artist in like a businessman's body, or it's a businessman in an artist's body. I don't know. He went to business school, but he also like eats, drinks, lives like art and illustration. And when you combine those two things, you get like this really magnificent like working artist who's just carved out this life for himself, where he gets to draw all day, do the business stuff too, and support his a lifestyle and a family. But this was a really cool interview. What'd you guys take away from it?
Well, I did have some points, but now I'm nervous to make them because of your out of left field Avatar reference.
Yeah.
I don't know where that came from.
Now I got to dig deep. No, it was good. That was a good reference. It looked well rehearsed and practiced.
He's kind of like Jurassic Park in a way, you know?
Oh, really?
Like,
Yeah,
yeah,
we're
he's
going
just
there
like
now.
eating everything in front of him, just like, just going for it. You know,
It's like a theme
dinosaur.
park, but with dinosaurs. What
Yeah.
could go wrong?
What do you think it was
Anthony
like,
Wheeler.
Lee? What do you?
I feel like it was like Jaws
Oh,
mixed
okay.
with Star Wars. No, he's amazing. He's got it figured out. I mean, that's the thing is, that's sort of been a common thread with the people that we have interviewed. That's the one thing that I've noticed is that they've been able to just tweak everything so specifically to work for them. And it seems like he's just got it really figured out in terms of doing live streams and which not only solves his income problems a little bit, but it also lets him interact with society. He's a very much an extrovert a lot of artists are kind of fall on that different parts of that spectrum. He's definitely at the extrovert stage, kind of like, or extrovert
He's so
personality
comfortable
like
in
us.
front of the camera.
Yeah.
He's so
And so it's
comfortable talking
perfect
to strangers.
for him. Yeah. He just got it nailed. I mean, exactly what he should be doing and how long he should do it and how does he accomplish it. And then he's got peripheral things that he realized there's a market for, like sketchbooks and things like that. It's a fascinating study of somebody who's doing the thing. I mean, he's doing all of it. He's making the art he wants to make. He's making a living at it, and he's doing it all on his own. Fascinating story, actually, coming from corporate America and then coming into art and then actually making as much as he was making in corporate America from art. I mean, it's a business lesson for sure, but the guy's really creative too. The stuff that he showed is amazing.
Jake and I, what's really fun here is I love to shower praise upon Jake because Jake's one of my favorite people. But Jake has had a really huge hand in me just doing what I do and watching him over the years, sort of giving me the blueprint and then almost in a sense giving me permission to sort of do what I do, which is very, very different and unique than I think what a lot of other independent illustrators do. So despite picking on him and making fun of him behind his back a lot, I owe an awful lot of this to Jake.
And just to be clear, that was like inspirational permission. We didn't do a signed agreement where I permit Anthony to follow my business model. No,
Thank you for clarifying that.
No,
what about Lee?
kind.
Didn't Lee encourage you along the way? Wasn't he inspirational? And
I have no
pivotal in your-
inspiration.
Depends how much money's in his PayPal and if he can send it quickly. Daniel can edit that part out. For me though, when I was I'm taking over the podcast real quick.
That's fine.
So when I was a kid, I drew voraciously. Like all I wanted to do was draw. And then when I got into my teen years, I sort of, and this is the 90s comic boom, and I was really into to all the Image comics, the Wildcats and the Spawns and all of that sort of stuff. But when I got into my teen years, I really fell off of illustration and comics altogether. Went to business school, got into sales and marketing and in executive recruiting. And then I came back to comics, I think at 24, 25, I just sort of like wandered into a comic shop. And I remember at that point, Jim Lee just started doing Hush, Batman Hush, and then Cory Walker was doing Invincible with Robert Kirkman. And when I reopened those comics, I instantly knew that I just wanted to draw. I just wanted to create. But I had this massive gulf between the age of 25 and the age of like 12 or 13 that I had not drawn or thought about art or anything. Like it just was so far back. So I dedicated the next, 10 years of my life just to try to figure out how to draw. I went to business school, so I didn't go to art school. I didn't have anybody in my sphere of influence who was really an illustrator, who really understood sort of what I was trying to accomplish. My goal was to draw professional comics, and it was, and I was so far away from all of that. And I was buying every possible, anatomy book and perspective book. And I was listening to podcasts, and I was listening to Jake, making YouTube videos and be on podcasts and posting on blogs. I don't know if you guys remember blogs, and listening to Scott Kurtz and the Webcomic Weekly guys, talk about just comics and independent illustrating. And for that 10 years, I just didn't really, my work was very bad. It was very unformed. I didn't have a project. I didn't really have a dedicated path. I didn't really know what I was doing. But I just knew that this was the space that I wanted to be in. And I just listened to all of these podcasts and these interviews and these conversations. And I just started sponging all of it up so that at some point I could be on this podcast. This is the moment right now.
The cumulative.
This is it. I'm retiring after today. But when as I started to get into my mid 30s, I was an executive recruiter, for the majority of my career. We saved up money. I put ourselves in a position that I could leave corporate executive recruiting to try to figure out how to draw. And then around that point is when my mother passed away, and she passed away sort of at an age where she should have had way more time. And she was just unhappy. Her life wasn't exactly the way she wanted to turn out. And I sort of knew, like, in that moment, that was 36, 37 maybe, that I had to go for it. I just had to take a leap. And so the day before I put in my notice to my executive recruiting, or to the company I worked with or worked for, and I had been kind of off ramping. I was quietly quitting, I guess is what the younger folks on TikTok say. Right. We found out we were having our third baby the day before I was going to leave a 6-figure salary and try to draw full time. And again, if you look back at my artwork from 2016, 2017, A, it's almost non-existent, but B, what's there is garbage. And it's just was uninspired and uninteresting and things like that. And so we had kind of an oh heck moment, like, what do we do? Mm-hmm. And luckily my wife had an awful lot of faith in me. And that's we'll go back into the Twitch thing here in a minute, but she had enough faith in me to know it wasn't where it needed to be, but we could get there. And around that same time frame is when I started to be better friends with Jake. And I showed Jake some of my work. And to his credit, he could have said, Anthony, not a good idea. Go get that job back right now. But to his credit, he gave me an amazing critique. I showed that critique off on my Twitch stream the other day. And it was a transformative conversation about how to think through shape, which is something that I had not been doing previously, despite trying to sponge all of this information up. And based on that conversation is when, I was in 2017, somewhere around in there, I decided to do the Inktober Drawing Challenge. And I knew, based on the conversation that Jake and I had about my artwork and where I wanted to go, that I should do that challenge, and I should see if I could figure anything out. And I had previously tried to do a very bad version of Jim Lee, or pick any awesome comics dude or dudette.
Yeah, Rob
and
Liefeld.
it stunk. It stunk. It was just horrible. And I decided in that Inktober in 2017 to go back to the thing that I loved the most as a kid, which was comic strips and cartooning and Calvin and Hobbes and Garfield and The Far Side and humor and comedy and things like that. And I just started cartooning. And that's sort of the inflection point of like when everything changed. And when I started to get a lot of joy out of my work, when my Instagram and my online social following just ballooned out of absolutely nowhere. And when I got confidence that I could actually be an illustrator someday, and I told Jake at the time, it's like, I'm just going to give myself 2 years. I'm going to give myself 2 years to see if I can figure anything out. We have enough money saved up. I'm just going to try it. And now it's 6 years later, and I'm on this podcast, and my moment has arrived.
That's incredible. So like today, your day is chock full of art related tasks. 10 years ago, what was your schedule like?
I was a full blown executive recruiter for Fortune 300, working with the CEO, COO, recruiting top level strategic talent into the business. So my day was dominated with telephone calls, with strategy meetings, with sourcing candidates, cold calling candidates to see if I could bring them into the business. It was, it was great. It's in the business world, it's the most servant-minded role that you can have in a big organization, helping somebody find a job, improve their career, improve their money, improve their stature, improve their time that they get to spend with their family or whatever it is. You can improve people's lives. But 10 years ago, I would have had pants on. I have pants on now, just FYI. I would have had a collared shirt. I would have had a tie. I would have easily been 40 pounds heavier because the cafeteria had tater tots. Wasn't good. It wasn't good. And it's funny, Jake knows some of this too. So when I quit my day job, we found out we had our third child on the way. I was plummeting my family into poverty because we were going from a nice salary to no salary. Around that point is when my oldest son, who was 8 at the time, started to display some really kind of scary neurological things. He had a seizure the day after we got our son home from the hospital, from the NICU, and he was in the NICU for 3 weeks. So like the whole, it's such a weird ramping period. It's like, found out that we were having our third child. That child came 7 weeks early, was in the hospital for 3 weeks, and then oxygen for a few months because we live at such a high elevation. That child comes home, and then my oldest has an epileptic fit, puts us down a path of 8 to 10 months of neurological testing, genetic testing, the scariest stuff of my entire life. And so my freelance career didn't start nothing started for almost a full year. I was full of anxiety, depression, fear. I was terrified. Luckily, the things that they were really worried about are not as impactful as what they were concerned. So we're doing really pretty good. But it pushed back me starting this whole process of learning how to draw by a long time.
Do you wish you had waited another year to quit, or was that probably best that you did it then?
It's like the universe, no matter what you believe in, the universe told me it was the right time. I would not have been able to handle a high pressure career in sort of the executive field and have a newborn come early who weighs 5 pounds, who's on oxygen. And then I have a son that they told us that, and he doesn't have this condition, but he told us that he was probably not going to live past his 20s.
Wow.
Wow.
And had I had a real job and had to put pants on, like they would have let me go. Like it was messy. It was really messy.
You'd be there physically, but not mentally.
Yeah. If even that, there were so many doctor's appointments and genetic appointments and all of these things. And, luckily what, we found out over the course of the years, he has this really weird sort of sleep epilepsy where his mind is really just vibrating rapidly when he sleeps. And we have very little epileptic seizures during the day. Very, very, very little. We're super lucky. But now we're going through puberty, and now some of that stuff is manifested again. And so things have been stressful this last 6 months, but it sort of is what it is.
I like how you said we're going through puberty. That it is. It's like if one kid in the house is going through puberty, everybody's going through puberty.
Have you not heard my voice squeak? It's very squeaky right now. It's very squeaky.
Here's a cool question from Perplexity. What is the most valuable focus / skill for a professional artist in the industry looking to set out on their own? Most valuable skill or focus? What do you guys think?
Good storytelling.
What was that question? I was reading.
Yeah. What's the most valuable skill for an artist setting out on their own in the industry?
I think being able to tell a good visual story.
I agree with that. Not just a good
putting
one.
words in your
not
illustration.
just a good one, but an interesting one. And we've noticed that in the contests a lot, where somebody can tell a story, but it's not an interesting story. And all of a sudden we're like, why are you drawing that?
Yeah, like there's illustrators are, if you're going to be a children's book illustrator or a graphic novel, there's a certain part of you that's maybe a small bit of comedian in there too, right? Where there's like there's some kind of punchline or else you're, if it's not funny, you're telling some kind of an emotional story. Insert your favorite author who tells emotional stories, but like you're telling them visually, and a lot of people struggle with trying to tell that story, so they put signs with words in there that the concept relies on. We're not talking about that. We're talking about like, think of Norman Rockwell. Go look at Norman Rockwell's visual stories, right? Look at his paintings. And if you had to write, you could look at one of his paintings and you could write a paragraph of the story that it's telling. How many of your paintings could someone sit down and write exactly what the story is without relying again on signs with words on them and things like that, and have them be interesting, not just like you said, Lee, not just the story, but why do I care?
The other thing, and it's related to storytelling, is being entrepreneurial. Because in many ways, being an artist is pretty cutthroat. And by that, I don't mean artists are like out to get each other, but it's a very competitive field. And because so many people want to do it, and so many people are good at it. And the thing that kind of sets you apart from other people is your storytelling ability. Can you connect with an audience, whether it's visually or through words or something like that? But then also, can you reach an audience? And that's just as important. And in order to do that, you've got to understand marketing. You've got to understand, the difference between red ocean strategy and blue ocean strategy. Right. You've got to understand minimum viable product. You've got to understand networking. That's a huge part of this as well. And so just core business fundamentals, often, like I tell people, if you're going to take art classes, take some business classes to go along with that. Maybe even get an MBA along and along with it. I have a friend of mine who works in animation for Nickelodeon, and he minored in business, and he was an assistant of mine, and then eventually we did a little business together for a year. We were business partners for a year, and he was like so on the ball and so easy to work with because he understood that whole business side of it. He's a great artist too. And so I think that's really what is going to kind of set you apart moving forward in the next 10, 20 years of your career.
Okay. This is Lisa. She says, no demand for your style. Hi guys. Thanks for the podcast. I've learned so much. I've been reaching out to agents and art directors over the last few months. And while I've received some kind words and some will keep you in mind type responses, a lot of the feedback has been that there's not enough demand for artists with, quote, my style. I can't quite tell if this means that I'm not good enough yet. and that this is really just a generic no thanks, or if I actually need to overhaul my style in order to start getting more work. And if so, what advice do you have for me to do this specifically? She writes more, and I just want to pull this up so we could look at it together. Did you guys look at her art yet?
Mm-hmm.
It's really good.
Mm-hmm.
It's really good. Yeah. So I think they're honestly, the honest truth is you're good, but I could see why art directors are passing on this particular style for projects. Do you guys agree with me?
Why do you say that?
For children's
quantify
books?
that.
Yeah, I would say let me pull this up so we can look at it together.
I mean, she seemed like a no-brainer for covers. It doesn't seem right for a children's book per se.
Because it's too detailed.
I think
too rendered.
I think she gets too dark. There's too much contrast, I think. Her darks are too dark, right?
And
the
too
blacks
black.
are too black.
And this is such a problem for shooting for shooting for the mass market, because no one's responsible and everyone's like
that's a great image right there.
They're
like
all copycats. What they want is they want you to fit into their mold so that everybody kind of looks sort of the same until someone's able to do something different, and then they'll try to tell people to go and do that style.
It's true.
So that's like one of the problems with the.
I think her most successful and appealing pieces are these lighter pieces. Like
I agree. It
this
might
one
be
right
the
here.
palette. It might not be the rendering. It might just be the palette.
Yeah, I really think it's that simple of a fix. Because look at this character.
Yeah, it's really nice.
And this is really beautiful.
I will say this, that, from talking to my now ex-agent and others in the field, it's a tough market right now. So that may be part of it as well. It may not be an outright rejection of this person's style.
Yeah.
Although, she only has 300 followers on Instagram. I mean, she should be higher up than that with the skill level going on here. I think a moderate tweak to this work, and she is off to the races.
Like, look at this. That's a great idea.
Mm-hmm.
That is
great.
fun. She says, I'm 1,000% open to shifting my gears to produce something that's more broadly appealing. The nice thing about this is she doesn't need to become a better artist. It's just like she knows everything she needs to know to make a great illustration. She's got good concepts. She's got
good contrast.
Good contrast, good design. I really think it's just a palette adjustment.
And I wonder, I wouldn't necessarily jump ship and go John Klassen or Beatrice, whatever her name is. How do I say her last name? Which is, really, really flat, really, really stylized, kind of clumsy. I don't think that would fit this, but, if you want to play around with backing off if you had a slider bar and 10 is fully rendered, every shape is got a highlight, and 0 is just a flat piece of paper. Where are you on that slider bar? I think she's probably at a 9 right now. If she backed off to like a 7, what does that look like? You know what I mean? Where we don't get a highlight and a shadow on every fold of the clothing. Probably is going to be a little bit better. You know who she reminds me of? Lauren Long.
Yeah.
Which
but
was
you know
highly
what?
rated as well.
For us to say, make these tweaks, these little tweaks, it's not going to change anything overnight. It's not going to be like, oh, now you're just going to get hired. The thing that will move your needle quickest in getting hired is to write a really good story, which you can't just write a really good story, right? I mean, if you could and you did and you wrote something that publishers
look at that donkey image. Good night, good day at the top, upper right. That looks exactly like her work.
Yeah, so you need to write something that they want, and then they'll take your art with it, or you need to publish stuff on your own. And we keep saying that, but it's like it's really hard right now just to put a portfolio out there and get hired. You know, you need to do projects that wake up art directors where they see your stuff on something that's being used and they want to use you or go
I
without.
wonder if this person's path to publishing isn't through the YA market. Like basically age up that character with the monster that she has, that kid that's standing in front of the monster, age him up a little bit so where he's 12 and not 8, and then do 5 black and white pieces that would go on the interior of a project, and she's off to the races with that as well. I think that's an easier transition than the picture book, which might take 6 months to a year to adjust.
Yeah. Yeah. This is such a good piece.
It's wonderful.
Wonderful. I was thinking, would it be fun to have a like a spotlight every episode where we just show someone who has under 1,000 followers, but
I absolutely love that idea.
should have 100,000. You know.
All right, let's see if we can bump her. Let's. So we're gonna put this. What her Instagram is what?
It's Allie. This is okay. It's Alyssa Adams illustration. So it's ALLYSAADAMS illustration.
Alyssa Adams illustration on Instagram. Go there, give her a follow. She deserves it, that's for sure. And then I'd love to have her check back with us in like 6 months and see if she adjusted any of this stuff and what it looks like. Because I think she's really, really close. Sometimes we look at people that are years away, you know, if they make a change. She could literally make this change overnight. She's already an accomplished enough artist where the new pieces next week start to already show it. So I wonder how it's going to pan out.
So how do you know you're ready to have a table at one of these places? Do you have a certain amount of artwork? Do you have a certain level of professionalism in your artwork? What do you
I would
guys
say
think?
if you're still, one of the hallmarks is if you're still struggling to find your style, like if you have not settled on a look to your artwork, you're probably not ready because you're going to have what, I can't remember if it was Jake or Will said it earlier, like this sort of flea market look when you've got all this different kind of styles and everything. It just looks really bad. So if you have a definitive style, I would start out selling online first and just see what the interest is, see what kind of stuff people are buying and what the price point is. If otherwise you're just truly starting from scratch and you have no data, and that's a tough place to be because one of the hardest parts, as you know, the picture of Will's booth kind of shows is there's a physical component to this. How much are you going to bring to a table or a booth? How do you set up the booth? All that stuff. If you're just starting, if you're like just making some imagery, you're like, okay, I'm going to do a convention. That's a big leap. But if you've already started selling stuff online, maybe you got a couple of different products that are selling even in a small way, then you start to be a good candidate for moving into that physical kind of realm.
Yeah,
Yeah,
absolutely.
I think that you just imagine. I mean, like you should definitely walk shows yourself before you ever do table. You should really go and see what stands out. What do you gravitate to? Look down the row, and look at the booths that are getting more activity, more customer activity than other ones, and try to figure out why. And just know how noisy visually those shows are, and anything you can do to cut down on that noise when they get to your booth, and which to me means having a strong brand. You know, like you're calling it style, Lee, and I would say
Brand is a better word. Yeah.
I'd go one step further and say make it look like a brand. You know, like because people want to collect something from a brand that looks like it's gonna go somewhere. I don't know how else to say it, but like, ooh, this is really cool. Look at all this stuff. Ooh, I got to get something from here, you know? And I really think there's like, if you're talking about like Lightbox, even though I haven't been there, but I feel like it's kind of CTNX 2.0.
Yeah.
You're not going to be able to compete on the quality of your drawing so much as you'll be able to compete on offering something unique. something that people want, right? So
Mm-hmm.
one thing that people are doing at those shows is they collect art books, really, really nice art books. Like they have
Yeah.
to be really nice. They like collections, but I would
Mhm.
say the other thing they collect is gifts for family members and stuff. So I don't know. Did fan art do well there? Were there a lot of people doing fan art, or was it not a
It's-
thing there?
So there was some fan art, but it was stuff like Over the Garden Wall fan art or Adventure Time fan art. It was
Mhm.
A
like
little more
really
specific.
animation specific. You know, there's like Gravity Falls, a lot of Miyazaki fan art, but I'd say fan art was definitely in the shadow of original, like a lot of people's OC stuff. So that's the other thing is you got to do a little bit of your homework to know what sells a particular show. Lee might have, 5 Miyazaki prints ready to go, fan art prints ready to go for this thing, and might not sell a single one of them because people in Denver may not know what it is. Or vice versa. It might be like that might be the hot seller and everybody's looking at them like, we didn't realize people love Miyazaki so much here.
Right.
Here
right.
at
I've never done a fan art print. Maybe I should do one just to see how that would do. I've never done a single one.
it would be ridiculously cool to see Studio Ghibli done in your style, like your take. When you did that Superman or that Batman one, it was it was just a take. Nobody ever done that take on Batman. So, and then the same with Will. You did. I kept telling you should do. I want to see really cute superheroes in your style or pop culture figures in your style. People loved it.
Yeah,
They loved
true.
mixing it up a little
that
bit.
was a fun project to work on. Yeah, there's other things that you can do if we're talking about tabling where you can actually do things that other people aren't really thinking of. Who's that?
This is just, if you're on YouTube, you could see this is one of the artists that were there, and this is one of the prints that they were selling. There's
That's
another
pretty.
one
It's
here.
really pretty.
Oh,
Yeah.
it's-
Who is it? Let's
Glare's
give him a shout
weird.
out.
This is, I don't have their card on it, so just give me a second. But if you're just listening, they were doing these really nice like block printing effect. I think these were all risograph prints done on a risograph machine.
No idea what that means.
Look it up. It's super cool. It does like offset printing, but with a copy machine. So there's like 4 different plates that it'll make. You could stick a piece of paper in there for it to photocopy, but then there's 4 different plates that it'll separate it out and run it through the machine 4 different times to print on
Cool.
it. It's super
Sounds
cool.
interesting. I don't know. Sounds
I
interesting.
wrote down the name here. I can't remember where it was. Anyways, okay, here it is. No, that was a different artist. I can't remember the name. I'll tell. It'll be in the show notes. I'll tell.
Needs some better branding. If you can't find the name, there's a problem with that
Well,
branding.
They had good branding, good enough branding. I just lost the business card, I
Oh,
guess.
Gotcha.
So yeah, it should have been like, duckprint.com or something like that. That's easy to remember.
I wanted to say that there's more to tabling. There's so much more to tabling than just setting your stuff out there. There's an art to the marketing of tabling,
Mm-hmm.
There's a whole nother thing. Like one of the things that we did that worked really well was we printed up little 5x7 prints that didn't cost that much. We printed up like 500 of them, and we would use those and say, hey, for the first 50 people that get to our table in the first hour, we're giving these away until they're gone, 50 of them, right? And we would always get 50, 60, 70 people, sometimes 100. And the people that were like, towards, they'd be lined up sometimes when we get to our booth. And we'd say, Oh, what the heck? We'll give them to you guys too because you waited in line, right? But we would also say this entitles you to half off of anything in our booth. So we'd print that on the back, right? It's a half off coupon. So you can come back anytime during the day and get half off. And we sold probably, I would say if we gave away, to 50 people, we'd sell to 10 people that probably wouldn't have bought from us,
Yeah.
Now would that 50% sale? This is what I always wonder about sales like that. Is that would the 50% off piss the other people off who bought it at full price?
I don't think they knew about it. You know what I mean? Like the people that got there that heard about the 50% off got
Gotcha.
it, and no one else ever heard about it during the day.
Those are great.
And
Jake.
there's
Jake-
such a markup on prints anyway that these are fun. These are really nice.
Yeah, her name's Rebecca. Rebecca She, I think is how it's pronounced, and
Okay.
Really nice.
she does these
Really
cool
pretty.
Rizzo prints, and it's pronounced, or it's spelled SHIEH. So go
Kinda
check her
has
out.
a Pascal kind of feel to it.
Yeah,
Definitely
Yeah,
does. The
subject
the
matter.
room, yeah. It's a kid in the room doing something with all the messy stuff
the
everywhere.
cat.
It's definitely
Mhm.
stole my cat. I'm the owner of cats.
So
All
we'd
right.
also do like drawings where we'd say put your name on the list for a free print, one of these
Yeah.
free prints back here, and then Wayne would text every single one of them and told them they won.
One thing
Oh
I
my
would
goodness.
highly
Wow.
recommend doing too is make sure you everybody who goes to your table, whether they buy something or not, signs up for your newsletter. You get their email, and the reason you want to do that, and you should definitely do this at Cherry Creek
It's a
League,
good idea.
is have a newsletter sign up. Is just say, if you want updates, I'm not going to spam you. I'm just going to let you know the next time I'm in town, or the next time I have a table, or the next time I have a new piece of
That'll be
artwork
good.
or something like that.
I've collected emails at almost every show and have amassed probably a couple thousand emails. Lost them all. Everyone.
How? You didn't input them?
No.
So the thing is, the week after you get home, you put
I've
them in
learned
your.
that now. That only took a decade to learn that. That I need to, when I get an email, you actually record the email. It's a good idea. Good advice.
And then send an email out that says it was good to meet you. I just did that this last week because I did a Lightbox follow up email for my newsletter, and
smart man.
just kind of said it was good to meet everybody. And then what was funny is I have a friend, Jed Henry, who he tables at 50 different cons every year. And I signed up for his email list in Seattle because we were both at a convention in Seattle. So now I'm always getting emails from him saying, "Hey, I'll be in Seattle, this weekend. Come check out the booth." And it was really kind of cool to see how he uses that, because he knows, if I got this email here, this person probably is from around here. First question from Jessica. How do you define a, quote, professional artist? Over the past few years, the 3 Point Perspective podcasts have been both engaging and informative in my illustration journey. My husband and I especially enjoyed listening to them on our morning runs. That's awesome. I listen to it every once in a while on my morning run too. So we're running together. We're all having a good running. Here's my question. This is a point where if my wife was listening, she'd get that big cane with the hook at the end of it and just pull me off. Say, leave it to Anthony and Jake. Anthony and Will. Okay, here we go. When did you feel comfortable calling yourself a professional artist? Was it when you were able to support yourself financially with your art, or when you felt you had reached a certain level of quality and skill? I've heard some people describe being a professional artist as one who creates artwork that is financially lucrative, but I've also seen plenty of highly skilled artists who make modest to little income on their artwork. Take Van Gogh, for example, who only sold a couple paintings in his life. Love to hear your thoughts. What do you guys think? How do you define professional artists?
Go ahead, Anthony.
Yeah, I thought about this question earlier because I came to this career so much later. I left corporate America at 36. I just to study and learn how to draw for a couple of years. We ended up having a third child. My father passed away. We had COVID, and then it wasn't until like maybe 2 years ago that I sort of really kind of quote unquote called myself a professional, despite having some success in for certain projects or social media or whatever it is. And I don't know if there's one, for me personally, I don't know if there's one definable aspect, whether you have a really good profession or like a lucrative year financially, or if you get 100,000 followers on your favorite social media platform. I think for me, it was kind of a culmination of a bunch of different stuff. When clients were reaching out to me for my expertise, when I could afford to pay for my entire family of 5. My wife doesn't have a job, so I'm the sole breadwinner. And then when everything was kind of cooking, sort of social media, extra products, online store, that's kind of when I was just like, yeah, I'm just a professional. And then live streaming this last couple of years, because I'm such an art nerd and such an illustration nerd, just being able to regurgitate what I know about art and illustration and techniques and things like that just helps reinforce the idea that I'm in the right spot. You know, whether I would be considered a professional compared to somebody else, I who knows. But that was kind of what was going through my brain earlier when I read this.
What do you think, Will?
My personality is that I learned early on not to really worry about titles and stuff like that. And I'm not suggesting that this person is. I don't want this person to feel like I'm saying that they're thinking wrong. But just keep things in perspective. In that, when we were doing editorial illustration, it was so highly stylized, and there was so much of it. And I'm talking about in the early 90s and early 90s. That anybody, well, they were hiring just about anybody who put together a portfolio. There was so much work. And I had a lot of friends who were making a living doing illustration. And I see people today who are 5-10 times better who can't get work. So those guys would call themselves pro back in the day. But you guys today, a lot of you guys are better who can't call yourself pro because you're not getting the work. It doesn't really bear out to me. It's not that important to be what you're, just keep in mind that you're trying to, the goal is to support yourself with your work. And I don't know if my comments are even helping at all. Just my thought is just don't get hung up on the day that you can call yourself a professional, because then the other part of that is, I've had times in my career where I was getting tons of work and I was like, man, this is easy. This is great. This is amazing. I have a great lifestyle. And then this was like in the first 5 years, one year it just kind of shut off for a while, and did I cease to become a professional at that time? It was just a lull, and I had to work really hard to market my stuff. And then I was busy with tons of work again. So
I want to pull up Jessica's page here. She has this character called Interstella Space Angel, which is so up my alley. I just absolutely love what she's doing here, and essentially she's
great.
She's come up with this character Interstella, who is kind of like this, she like space god of some kind. She cleans the universe. She rakes the rings of Saturn. She's kind of like this metaphysical thing who also is very much grounded in human reality. But like there's this whole sequence here where she's like, a brief guide to star size. Here's Earth compared to the sun. Here's the sun compared to Sirius, compared to Pollux, all the way up to like Betelgeuse and Uy Scuti. I'm not sure if that's how it's pronounced, but this massive star. But then she's holding the biggest star ever in her hand. So it's like really cool symbolic stuff going on here. But then some she folds into it some commentary on like how this applies to us as Earthlings and how we could think of ourselves as being not just insignificant little, dust speck in the universe, right? So
this is really good work, by the way.
Yeah,
Sorry
really
to
good.
interrupt. God.
yes, no,
you should join
it's
us on
amazing.
YouTube to see what we're showing, because it's really
Right.
nice.
And it's so much work has gone. If you've ever sat down to draw a comic page, how much work has gone into this and how consistent she is with the style, and the faces and everything, and poses. All that stuff is really good. So what I would say is she is doing professional work, and she absolutely could call herself a professional, because I don't think professional necessarily means you're getting paid to do it. I think it means it's what you bring to the work. If you bring a level of professionalism to your work, then you're professional. If you bring a level of amateurism to your work, I know people who get paid for their artwork who are amateurs when it comes to how
That's
they
what I
work
was
on
talking
it,
about.
how they meet deadlines.
This is so much better than anything I was doing, in the early 90s. I couldn't, and I was getting tons of work. So
I think too, it's like, a professional also does their work whether they feel like it or not. Whereas an amateur or hobbyist, it's just for fun. It's this thing I do for fun. It's this thing that I do it when I feel like it. But a professional shows up and does the work because the work needs to be done, and they do it in a consistent high quality. And so you could have someone who's doing a webcomic, and hasn't made a dime off of it, but they've been consistent on it for 2 years straight. I'd say they're doing professional work.
Yep.
Right.
When I was an executive recruiter, some of the advice that we would give, or I would give, is that you dress for the job that you want, not the job that you have. So if you work in a warehouse and you wear jeans and a t-shirt, but you want to be an accountant in a professional setting, you put the clothes on for an accountant, and that's what you come into the interview with. At some point, particularly, I think this is really like rock solid superior work that we're looking at on screen. I think at some point it all just kind of clicks together. So in this aspect, not only are we getting really great figure work, but we're getting really amazing color work, and then layouts, and then lettering, and then color grading. And that's the sign, I think, of when somebody can really kind of claim that they are a professional in their market, is when all of those disparate things that we do in art and illustration come together and they just click, just straight up click. And then you're dressed for the part that you want. The art director reaches out, or you're able to monetize and do what you need to do. It just sort of falls into place.
Yeah. So if Jessica is looking for, professional work, like getting hired to do a graphic novel or anything like that, I think she's got what it takes. It's just finding a project that matches, that her style matches, that an art director, wants her work to do it, right? So I don't know. I feel like we nailed that question too.
All right, that's the episode. A few key takeaways from this that I just wanted to point out from this episode. So number one, before you quit your day job, look for proof that your new venture will succeed. So a big hint that you're on the right path is that people are willing to pay you for the thing that you're doing, right? And that's really a metric if you're wanting to have illustration be your income. Obviously, if you're just looking for engagement and you're looking for cultural change, perhaps you don't need to have money making as a metric, but it really is a good indicator that you'll be successful. Second takeaway is trust your intuition. It might tell you to jump or wait, and eventually you're going to see the reasons why. So if your gut's just like you're like really nervous, there's a few red flags, maybe that means you're not ready. Usually you want to do something that you're like gung-ho on, okay? Another takeaway is learn not only to draw well, but to tell an interesting visual story. So it's not just, you can't just have good technical ability. You also have to be able to tell a story with your art. And then I would say that was the fourth one here is a professional shows up no matter how they feel. anyone can have a professional attitude regardless of your experience or success. So the moment you start treating yourself like you're a professional, that starts to show up in your work as well. And then lastly, last takeaway here is solidify your branding. Your presentation really matters just as much as the work itself. All right, 3-Point Perspective is brought to you by SVSLEARN, where becoming a great illustrator starts. And your host today was just me, plus whoever we got from these clips. It's usually, we've got Will Terry, we've got Lee White, we've got Anthony Wheeler, we've got Samantha Cotterill, and we've got David Hone. Those are our regular hosts that we switch through. So do check out their work and let us know what you think of them. Podcast produced by Daniel Tu. Special thanks to him. Special thanks to the rest of our team. The team manager, Preston Smith, the keeper of the curriculum, Austin Shirtliff, the show notes wrangler, Lily Howell, the chief operations officer, Lisa Fott, and our illustrator, Annalise Black. Now, go draw something.